In order to save her son with leukemia, the poor single mother sells herself one night to a wealthy boss. In this way, she can gather the $250,000 surgery cost. She has no alternative but to trade her dignity for her son's survival. The boss, by contrast, is obsessed with their night together. At dawn the next day, the single mother descends the stairs, ignoring the boss's hungry stare. She grabs the duffel bag he packed with stacks of cash and flees the hotel. The billionaire stares after her, bitter disappointment in his eyes. Convinced she's just another gold digger, he has no idea she has a son fighting for his life or the agony she's endured. After paying the transplant fees, Sarah's carefully constructed facade of strength shatters. Before this, she'd exhausted all formal channels for loans and donations. She even begged her late husband's family for help. But her father-in-law refused to lend her a dime. After his son's fatal car accident, he blamed Sarah entirely and refused to acknowledge his grandson. Out of options, she goes into the CEO's office, Zine, and asks for a 2010K salary advance. This catches the seasoned businessman off guard. She's only been with the company 1 month. While she's highly competent, this is beyond ridiculous. First, you're asking for a fortune. Next, you'll want to run the whole company. Facing her boss's mockery, Sarah dares not tell the truth. Because when she applied for the job, her friend had warned her never to mention she had a child. Zine was very strict about hiring. He never employed married women, convinced that family responsibilities would divide their focus and lower their productivity. Sarah had to lie to him and the other employees that she was single in order to keep her job. Sarah nowadays doesn't tell the truth either. But just when she thinks all hope is lost, Zine relents first. Sarah feels insulted, angrily scolds him for his sleazy thoughts, and slams the door as she storms out, unaware this was Zine's test of her integrity. In fact, from the first moment he saw Sarah, Zine had been captivated by her beauty. But even so, he resisted acting on his desires. Due to a deep-seated prejudice against women he'd harbored since childhood, it was tied to his parents' unhappy marriage. His father had cheated on his mother with another woman. So, his mother had constantly warned him never to trust pretty faces. Sarah's reaction pleases Zine greatly, convincing him she has good character. As soon as Sarah reaches the building lobby, the doctor calls with devastating news. If she can't secure the transplant funds by tomorrow, the donor will withdraw consent and choose another patient. This means her son will die before receiving a matching stem cell transplant. Her son is the only thing keeping her alive. She'd burn the world to ash for him, so she reluctantly agrees to spend one night with Zine in exchange for the money. That night, she turns her late husband's photo face down. She dresses in a sleek black gown. The moment she walks into the hotel, Zine's breath catches, blurting out, "You're stunning." They skip the small talk and head straight to the room. This night will linger in their minds forever. The next day, Sarah manages to pay her son's surgery fees in full, but the emotional wounds she suffered haunt, and she can't bring herself to talk to her friend. Meanwhile, Zine realized that he's not as heartless as he thought. He's terrified of falling head over heels for her. Fortunately, Sarah's son undergoes a successful surgery and is temporarily out of danger. She now balances caring for her child with her work responsibilities. Although her frequent lateness irritates Zine, her project proposals are always the most praised by colleagues. Even Zine, who rarely compliments employees, has to admit she's an exceptional architect. So he assigns the most critical project to Sarah and insists she accompany him on a business trip to Dubai. A single mom with no money or connections can't possibly refuse. She hires a nanny to watch her son who's still unconscious after surgery. On the plane, Zane spends the entire flight trying to feel out Sarah, desperate to understand what kind of woman she is, but Sarah only talks about work. After all, they'd agreed to never mention that night again. When Sarah demonstrates exceptional negotiation skills with a client, Zine is impressed. After the meeting, he invites her for a drink, only to be rejected. Zine tries to let it go, but a new idea strikes him. Disgusted, she storms out of the elevator. Zayn is left frustrated and confused, but he doesn't press further. Seeing her carry her luggage to leave, Zayn blocks her path and sincerely apologizes. No flights are taking off at this hour. Just stay here and rest for the night. I won't bother you. During the flight back to Lebanon, Zayn can't help asking her, why did you agree the first time but refuse this time? However, Sarah doesn't give a damn about him, let alone reveal the truth about the medical bills. As soon as the plane lands, she rushes straight to the hospital to see her son. No matter how much she suffers, as long as her son is safe, she can tolerate anything. But Zayn can't get her out of his head. Although he doesn't trust women easily when someone piques his interest. It's like a wildfire. He can't smother it, no matter how hard he tries. That evening, under the pretext of discussing work, he invites Sarah to meet clients, and also includes her friend and his own friends in the gathering, leaving her no choice but to accept. During dinner, the son suddenly phones. Ever since his father's death, the boy has been deeply dependent on his mother, needing to hear her tell a story every night before bed. Sarah steps into the lobby to answer the call, soothing her son with gentle words, whispering, I love you, and blowing a goodnight kiss. Zayn follows quietly behind her, overhearing the intimate exchange and misinterprets it. Does Sarah have a boyfriend? The thought spoils his mood entirely. Back at the table, he abruptly cuts the project timeline from 2 months to 3 weeks for Sarah. His ficklessness leaves her thoroughly confused, but she has no energy to decipher his motives. Her son's health is her only priority. Thankfully, she has an amazing friend named Tima. She works overtime with Sarah day in and day out to tackle the workload, helping share the burden. But as time passes, the exhaustion wears on them. Sarah decides to take a few days off. Zayn can't help but overthink during her absence. Is she taking time off to go on dates with other men? His melancholy is so palpable that even his mother and friends sense something's wrong. They invite him to join a charity project, hoping he'll find purpose in contributing. Zayn agrees, utterly unaware that he's about to witness a scene that will shatter his pride. At the charity event, wealthy donors pledge millions to the hospital for children with cancer. The hospital director expresses gratitude, revealing, not long ago, a boy almost lost his spot on the organ donation list because he couldn't pay. Luckily, his mother raised $250,000 at the last minute. Following the director's gesture, Zayn is shocked to realize the single mother is Sarah. Days of confusion vanish in an instant. He finally understands she'd sold herself to save her son, not because she was cheap. Ayaka. Seeing her lies being exposed, Sarah panics and runs out of the hospital. The cumulative weight of everything crushes her, leaving her barely able to breathe. Zayn wants to go to comfort her, but the thought of how he humiliated and disrespected her fills him with such guilt that he's too ashamed to face her. He lies awake until the small hours of the morning. Then finally, snaps, driving to Sarah's house determined to confront the truth. But Sarah, her heart broken by him, tries to slam the door shut. Zayn catches it with his hand, asking, why didn't you tell me? If I'd known it was to save your son, I never would have made those insulting demands. Even with his apology, Sarah refuses to forgive him. Her parents' deaths and her husband's passing once left her hopes. But she didn't dare to give up because she still had a son to feed. Life had a cruel joke, though. When her son was diagnosed with leukemia, her already strained finances collapsed. She never wanted to do that degrading work, but she had no choice. Now all she wants is to cut ties with Zayn permanently. Zayn's eyes sting as he listens. He realizes he's misjudged her horribly, and hates that he's made her suffering worse. His friend and business partner, Karam, can't understand why he's acting so weird. He urges Zayn not to fire Sarah, even though she lied. The company shouldn't have made a rule about not hiring married women, and it shouldn't have dumped an employee in trouble. It's got the ever cold-blooded CEO in a teasy. Zayn has no idea that Karam is standing up for Sarah because he also has a crush on her. Let's return to the week when Sarah first started working there. While dashing to work, she accidentally bumped into Karam, who had just returned from overseas. During a meeting, she panicked when her presentation files went missing until Karam stepped in, handing her a USB drive. It turned out the collision had knocked her USB drive onto the floor, and he picked it up. Sarah's design, vision, and ability were very impressive to Karam. Later, at a hospital charity event, he learned the truth about her son's illness and visited her son's hospital room personally. Although he has no idea where Sarah got the money, He makes it clear that if she ever needs help, he'll lend it to her without hesitation. Sarah sees him as incredibly kind and feels deep gratitude, but she keeps silent about her dealings with Zine. The next day, the company's management holds a meeting to discuss whether or not to fire Sarah. After all, it was against company policy for her to hide the fact that she had a child. Zine stays silent throughout. Just then, the secretary walks in and hands over Sarah's resignation letter. Zine's heart jolts the moment he reads it. He races to find her, blurting out that he won't accept her resignation. Her friend takes the cue and slips away, leaving them alone. Zine slowly moves closer to her and sincerely apologizes to her. He pleads with her not to give up the job she loves because of his mistakes. But it's too late. The damage is done. The insults branded in her memory. Even Karam's gentle plea can't sway her. Sarah resigns without hesitation, but Zine refuses to let go. The moment she's out the door, he orders a subordinate to investigate whether she's applied to other companies. In the days that follow, Sarah juggles caring for her son and job hunting. One day, she gets 3 offers from top firms. No interviews, just instant hires if she says yes. Sarah thinks it's creepy, so she talks to her friend about what's going on. But Tima isn't surprised. It reminded her that she'd heard Zine collecting names of famous construction companies. It seems certain he has been recommending Sarah everywhere. Upon hearing this, Sarah feels no gratitude. Instead, she resents his high-handedness. She turns down all offers, determined not to be indebted to Zine. Tima wonders why she harbors such strong feelings towards Zine, but Sarah says nothing, only that she hates him. She visits her late husband's grave to pour out her heart, as if he were still alive and could lend her strength. Just then, her husband's family also comes to pay their respect. Weeks earlier, Sarah had pleaded with her father-in-law to lend money for his grandson's treatment, only to be met with a cold refusal. Even her mother-in-law's persuasion failed. He stubbornly refused to acknowledge his daughter-in-law and grandson. Filled with disappointment, the mother-in-law left his home to care for her grandson personally. Deeply moved, Sarah takes her in. After his eldest son and wife leave, the father-in-law feels profound loneliness. In a moment of trance, he sees his son's spirit and finally realizes his mistake. Now he wants to mend the relationship with his daughter-in-law and care for his grandson. He apologizes to Sarah, begging for a chance to make amends. But the grievances and pain she has endured over the years cannot be erased by mere apologies. Thankfully, fate finally brings her good news. Her son has recovered well and is being discharged today. Unexpectedly, as soon as she arrives home, her mother-in-law comes to visit. However, she did not come alone today. She is speaking on behalf of her father-in-law. He has truly realized his mistake and does not expect to be forgiven immediately, but only hopes to see his grandson. Kind-hearted Sarah does not refuse. Although she cannot forgive him, the child is innocent and deserves a grandfather's love. That night, after her mother-in-law leaves, Sarah notices a gift bag left on the floor. Inside is a black leather satchel containing hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. It turns out this was the surgery money her father-in-law had prepared earlier. But he was too ashamed to give it to Sarah directly, and now he wants to offer it as compensation. But this only weighs heavily on Sarah. She confesses her true feelings to her friend. When I was most desperate, they refused to help. Now they beg for forgiveness. Am I supposed to grant it? Ever since Sarah quit her job, Zine has been in a terrible state. One day, a piece of good news finally gives him an opportunity to approach her again. The project Sarah once oversaw has won an International Architecture Award, a highly prestigious honor in their industry. In the evening, he calls her under the pretext of urgent business and invites her to a restaurant, claiming he needs to discuss something crucial. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a comment and share your thoughts. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Part 2 will follow.